This is Bleav in Buckeyes. I'm Bryant with All-American quarterback Chekwa. Show is brought to you guys by FanDuel. Jim, man, we got some ball going, man. We got some bowl games going. I watched the Idaho Potato Bowl today. But hey, over the weekend, we got the playoffs going too, man. We got things going on and cracking there, man. How you doing? What's going on in your world?
Yeah, man, I'm ready for this game, man. I think first round of the playoffs was okay, right? It's kind of a teaser to what we're gonna experience second round, and now it's time to go. It's the Ohio State. It almost feels like Ohio State Miami, although we don't match up much. It feels like a little bit of a rivalry, man. It's kind of like a every 10 year type of every 10 years type of rivalry for real.
Yeah, I mean that's how it's kind of been playing out of late, I guess, more or less. And obviously, we still gotta put a sour taste in the Hurricanes' mouth through that 0-2 national
right.
championship, and obviously when we were in school, we played them. Big game for us. We came off, and then we played them in the back-to-back, and the second one we didn't do so well. So we kind of own one, but I don't know. They see it differently. The postseason was one that's all over everywhere, man. But anyway, we'll get into that, man. But we got to first get into some Ohio State news, which is a big one. I don't know, man. It's one of the fastest guys in the nation. He's got to say that coming out of high school. We could say that looking at his numbers ever. And Legend Bay flips his commit out of Tennessee and joins the Ohio State Buckeyes. This is an interesting one because he wore Ohio State gear to his side today. He kept saying that he wants to be a Buckeye, but at the time, his mother stepped in and said, no, you're going to honor your original commitment and you're going to take yourself to Tennessee and be a volunteer. Obviously, Buckeye Nation has been talking about this for months now, but he is officially on his way up north to join us here in the winter in Columbus. Man, what's your thought on this Legend Bay situation? It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Legend Bay. First of all, his name is Legend.
Legend.
Like that sets a bar high for accomplishment. So shout out to him. Committed to Ohio State. I Bleav signed with Ohio State at this point, and was committed to signing with Ohio State. Right, as you laid out, 17-year-old couldn't necessarily make his own decision at that point. A couple of weeks later, he turns 18, and now he's free to make his own decision. And there was some conflicting, decision making between him and some of his support system. It's a tough. I don't have enough information. Right. I feel like personally I don't have enough information. I hate to speculate too much. The reality of a young teenager making the decision of where they're going to play football, presumably for the next 4 to 5 years, where they're going to go to school, where they're going to kind of grow up and be a man, that's a tough decision to make. There's a lot of factors that go into making that decision. Obviously, as Buckeyes or Buckeye fans, we tend to lean Ohio State as to being the place to do that. Like the best place you could possibly go play football and do everything at. But they're in reality, you as an individual player, you got to find the right fit. And a parent can have a perspective on that fit, and a player can feel differently. And in some situations, the parent says, "Look, you're of age. I want you to make the best decision and go where you want to go." In other situations, the parent says, "Hey, hold on now. I want you to make the best decision." And you committed to Tennessee, and we thought that was the best decision. Now you're flipping to Ohio State, and we don't think that's the best decision. So it's just a challenging situation. I'm excited that he's a Buckeye, obviously, but when it comes to the family dynamic, I would need more information to determine, what actually happened personally.
It's definitely it's just a weird situation. Like you say, you don't want to speculate. We're Buckeye fans here, so we happy we got the guy to come in to sign. He's on his way or here or how everything goes from there. But it's just weird because because obviously we know some of the factors into the decision now when it comes to high school. It's literally money. It's dollars on the line. We got NIL here and it's legal dollars on the line. And so obviously people start to speculate, did the mother get a deal? So she think the son should go here or Tennessee's offering more. So that's the only decision that really matters when it comes down to like you say, it's just very tricky to get into because obviously that's his mother. whatever decisions being made, financial decisions, or just where the kid fits best as a player, as far as development and things go of that nature, it all intertwines. If he's making a decision for one reason, not another reason, it was come back and still intertwine with one another. And, hopefully, it works, it's going to work out for him. Obviously, we know what type of program he's coming to. He's going to get developed here. He's coming as an athlete. I don't know if he's going to be and I think he played mostly quarterback in high school. I don't know if he's going to play receiver here, defensive back. I don't know what they're going to do. But obviously we know he's a fantastic talent, and we're excited for him to be part of the brotherhood and develop and grow and become that player that he wants to be. And hopefully, we start seeing it on Saturdays in a year or two from now, and that translates to a long, outstanding player career for Mr. Bay. Mr. Bay there. So, yeah. And another news commit, we got Quinton Cypher, linebacker in class of 27. He committed as well. I don't know. A lot of people are excited about him. They said that this is a high praise right here. So people are saying that he is a Luke Kuechly level talent at the linebacker position. It's like, whoa, whoa.
Listen, man. I'm sorry. You can't throw around Luke Kuechly comps, man. That's big time praise. Luke Kuechly is one of one, in my opinion. That's big, huge shoes to fill, I would say. But I also would say if people have the audacity to even bring Luke Kuechly's name up when talking about a high school level player, that means he might be a guy who can ball. I haven't seen a lot of him personally.
Yeah, no, me either. Yeah.
But I trust him, and I also trust James Laurinaitis, man. He's done a amazing job, and give credit to the entire coaching staff and the defense. But James has brought in some high level linebacker talents, man. And in the world of NIL, where there's a lot of positions that you have to prioritize. You got to pay your quarterback, right? You got to go pay a defensive end. You got to go get a left tackle. You got to get some corners, right? There's some positions that you got to invest some money in, because if you don't, it's going to lead to that team just not being able to compete at all. And there's some positions like safety and linebacker, and maybe even sometimes defensive tackle, that you may not invest the same level of dollars in. James is still getting those guys in at the linebacker position. It's a good decision to come in here and develop at Ohio State and develop under a guy like James Laurinaitis. So I think they kind of see the vision. But he's been on an impressive run. So I'm kind of excited for the future of this linebacking core.
Yeah, you're right. And now I just have to second that. Yeah, interesting to see. But obviously, like I say, he's spearheading now the linebackers of the 27 class, and obviously we're excited to see what that class is also able to bring. But I think, I don't know, the biggest news around OSU is not too much news, right? We're talking about commits and things. We're going to harp on that much. We got to state that name and go about our day. But biggest news around here, and obviously we're gearing up for a playoff run. We're the defending national champions. We end up with one loss on the season, number 2 in the nation going into these playoffs. And we have a switch up, right? Hartline's took a job. He's going down to USF to be their head coach. He's still part of the program. But the biggest change is Coach Day stated that he will be calling the offense for our playoff games, which is huge.
That's the right decision.
Huge.
Yeah.
It probably is the right decision, but a huge decision on how essentially the dynamic of the team would kind of shift a little bit going into this playoff run. Any concerns that he's no longer just going to be that general of the team? Or?
No, honestly, I had concerns going into the playoffs, given that I know Brian Hartline has to have 2 jobs right now. He has to work 2 jobs. There's no possible way that you could be the head coach of a college football team in December, going into January, and have to build a staff, have to maintain recruits, have to get some guys off the portal. They just lost their quarterback to the portal today. He probably ends up at Auburn with the old coach, right? They gotta figure out who's the next quarterback. What's the defensive staff look like? Have they even named the defensive staff yet? You're talking about James Laurinaitis. We may lose him to USF as a D coordinator. Let's not put that in there. I take that back.
Yeah, don't say that.
But But the reality is there's no way to get around it. So to take a little bit of load off of Brian Hartline, he's still part of the process. It's a collaborative process. And play calls come in, they're all talking in the microphone, they're all making decisions. But Ryan Day being able to have that final decision, it's a clear decision. He's clearly focused on this team 100%. He's clearly focused on his game. And the other reason why I'm not concerned is Ryan Day's track record in bowl games, and I'm gonna remove the game against Missouri that happened.
Yeah.
But in bowl games and in playoff games, offensively has been impressive. Right?
Really
It's been
is.
pretty impressive. And it's not like the season grind, the long season grind where you're worried about so many things. Kids going to class, you got you still recruiting, you're still trying to make sure the defense is set, you're making sure the offense, you're making sure everybody's getting their nutrients and getting their lifts in and all this other stuff. Right now you're just locked in on football, and Ryan Day can do what Ryan Day does best, and preparing and calling a good game. And he has multiple weeks in preparation. So I feel good about it. I actually prefer Ryan Day as a play caller with this level of preparation beforehand to get it done. And that gives Hardline the ability to do two things at once. Do what he needs to do for USF and in the time allotted to do that, and also be a part of supporting the game plan for the playoff game.
Yeah, no, I think I like it. Like you said, it make a lot of sense. It's probably more of a sigh, like, whoo, yeah, thank you, Coach Day, for stepping up and taking that responsibility. Because obviously, but like it's just impossible. It's just so many hours in the day, and we all want Hartline to have success at USF. We do. We want that to happen. We're cheering for him. He's one of our Buckeye brothers. We're watching him have success for many years. But we are also still locked in on this 25 team. Our last year with Caleb Downs. And sending him off,
Right.
On a high note with Sonny Styles. We locked in. We want to defend our champion in the best way. You want to give yourself the best opportunity to do that. And in doing so, if it's handing the offense back to Coach Day, once again, to make that final decision when it comes to the play calling for these playoffs, makes a lot of sense to me. As in the 26th, I want us to hire another offensive coordinator that take that back from Coach Day, and we kind of continue to kind of roll from there. But
all right, Buckeye Nation, let's keep it 100. The holiday season is busy. You got shopping, parties, flights to catch, and business still has to get done.
And somehow the world gets a little bit nasty. You got coughing, sneezing. You got kids running around, passing germs left and right. That's why you got to stay locked in with Bryant Vitamins.
Yeah, I take the Bryant Vitamins. And the best part is that Bryant is made for the whole family. So everybody in the house can stay ready and everybody can stay healthy.
So whether you're closing deals, visiting family, friends, or just traveling or just out to eat with your family, keep Bryant Vitamins as part of your routine.
Yeah, more energy, stronger immune system, no slowing down, and that's really the holiday flex. So head to buymade.com and take care of yourself this season.
Use the code TEAMFAMILY for 25% off your first order, and that's buymade.com. Stay healthy, stay locked in, and go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
But man, let's talk about these playoffs, man. Obviously, we had round one kicked off on a Friday night. Man, I mean, some of the games was good, and then some of the games kind of little bit of lopsidedness to it, man. But let's get into it. So first, let's talk about. So we got James Madison. They go to Oregon. They lose that game 34-51. And when you say it, it's like, oh, that's not that bad. But at halftime, the score was 34-6, and it was pretty much over at that time. And then we have Tulane takes on Ole Miss, and they didn't put up much of a fight. Ole Miss wins that game 41-10. I'm going to start out there for really one particular reason. It's a topic that a lot of people are discussing. These G5 schools versus the P4. Now, this is probably this year two now that we done had, these type of playoffs. And in these particular playoffs, the G5s occupied two spots. I think, what is they, the 12th and 11th seed. And, man, they didn't do well. Let's be frank. They didn't do well. Even if somehow they did luck up and win this first game, that they didn't, even if they made it to the second game, there's no way, no one is really betting on them to kind of come out and go on a championship run here. I mean, are we doing too much for keeping them in the mix? I mean, what's your thoughts on that, Jeff?
Yeah, I know this is a big topic of discussion. I don't care. Honestly, don't care. I mean, it's a 12-game playoff. There's a 12-team playoff. All right. If you're the 12th, the 11th, or 12th team, I don't care if you get in or you get out. All right. It doesn't matter if we made it a 100-team playoff. 100 teams, we will be arguing about the 100 team and the 101 and 102 team that didn't get in. It just doesn't matter. At one point it was 2 teams that played. Then we created a college football playoff and it was 4 teams. And the argument was about 5 and 6. Who should have been the top 4? We said, okay, let's expand it to 12. Now it's about 11 and 12 team. I don't care if you're not a top 10 team. I don't care if they give the 11 and 12 team just a random bid. And honestly, I think this year is a little bit unique where we didn't have one team that was a G5 team that was just legit competing to be in that top 11 or 12 spot. Last year we had Boise State. Ashton Jeanty, who was basically a generational running back based on the stats. And they were a team that can compete. Now they ended up getting a top 4 spot, which probably was the wrong answer. They probably should have been in a James Madison, Tulane type position and played in that first round. And that would have made sense. Maybe 2 G5 teams doesn't make sense. But if it's one, I'm fine with it. I think Notre Dame is a playoff level team. Right? I think they're better than Ole Miss. I think they're better than Alabama. I think they're better than Texas A&M and Miami, 2 teams that they lost to. But based on how the season went, there's no way to actually prove that based on the field play. So I think it was a scheduling mistake in there for them that led them to where they ended up. So I don't really think this is. I think this year it was bad. It could easily be that there's a G5 team that really rises above the rest next year, and it makes sense. So that's kind of my opinion of it.
Man, I don't know, man. It's because I mean, you bring up Notre Dame, and like you say, by your own standards, you said the top 10 have a chance at maybe competing and win a national championship. By your standards, you just kind of put them as like 6 in the poll, right? You just made like a list of 10.
I think they're about 6.
Yeah, about 6, right? But they don't make the playoffs. So due to the way the system and the rules were created, you had 2 G5s in, 2. When we know this one team was right on the bubble, they essentially was in the playoffs all the way up until the last week. And to be honest, I think they did make the right decision by putting Miami, who played them and beat them and got the same record with a very similar strength of schedule. Go ahead and put them in the playoffs and they fall off. But to me, you got to put the best teams in there. So if it's like going to a Tulane or James Madison and tell them 102, look, I'm sorry, you guys had a great year, you're conference champions, but you're not one of the top teams that actually have a chance here at competing for this national title. So you need to fall out of it, and we put it in a team like Notre Dame because we know that they're right there, they can compete. It just, to me, this makes it a much better playoff. You put these guys in there. I mean, at the end of the day, the ACC screwed up heavy, right? The ACC, with their rules, made it very hard. And just due to the rules, you end up paying 2 of these G5s in. But I think they need to have a little bit more flexibility on some of these rules that they kind of put in before it, trying to make things fair and just say, like, look, no, we're going to put the top teams in there that deserve to be there off of record, strength of schedule, and then after that, what we could see on the film, the eye test, and make that make sense, and then we're going to go with the strongest playoff we could put together for here, because putting in 2 G5s, it's just not the strongest playoff that we can have. I'm sorry. Those two, JMU and Tulane, they just not make it a very strong playoff when both of them are in.
Yeah, this season. Now,
this season, we're talking about this season. Yeah.
I mean, last season it would have been Boise, who, they were also ranked high as well. So I'm fine if they cap it at top 20 or cap it at top 15. You get into crack the top 15, now you're in your G5 team, then you get in that position. I'm fine with that. But then that plays on, it's still humans making the decision. Do they just put Tulane at number 15 so that they get into the? So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think every team needs to consider their schedule and how they present themselves. I thought Notre Dame had a weird year in where they lost 2 games to start the season. Imagine when there was just 4 teams in the playoffs. If you lost 2 games to start the season, you're done.
Yeah, it
Like, you
does.
are
Yeah.
literally done. To even be back in that conversation towards the end was almost a little bit surprising. Now, I think talent-wise, yes, they are like a top 6 team. But that means there's a bunch of other teams that got in that if we talk about getting the best teams in, they shouldn't have been in over Notre Dame either. So to me, those teams, we got 10 spots for y'all to fight for. And then we got these G5, all of the rest of the college football, only fighting for 2 opportunities to get in. To me, you should have gotten into the top 10. You lost to 2 teams that ended up in the playoffs, and that's what knocked you out. And it's not so much, they're a top 10 team in my opinion, but they lost to 2 of the teams that made the playoffs. So that was their playoffs. Like, the regular season still matters. Your playoffs was beating Texas A&M and beating Miami. You're better than them, I think. My eye test says you're better than them. But that was your playoffs. You lost early and it knocked you out. I think, honestly, it's never going to be fair. But to
It's
me,
never gonna be fair. It's never gonna be fair.
I don't care about the 11 and 12 team not making the playoffs. I'm never going to make that argument.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just think a little bit more flexibility to put in the best teams. I think that goes a long way. But man, let's kind of keep going into it, man. So obviously, like I say, Oregon won big. They're going to take on Texas Tech. Ole Miss won big. They're going to take on Georgia. Oklahoma plays Alabama. Interesting one where Oklahoma was up 17-0. Obviously, Alabama figure it out, storms back, gets the win, and they'll go on to play Indiana. And our guys, Texas A&M versus Miami. We have a defensive struggle. It's just funny, right? You wouldn't think you have a defensive struggle. Just looking at the names, Texas A&M versus Miami, but going to have a defensive struggle. Miami takes the win 10-3, and obviously we'll be taking them on in the Cotton Bowl on December 31st. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. Chim, obviously we got a week. We're really gonna dive into this. But I guess what's your early on thoughts on the Miami Hurricanes, what they bring to the table,
Yeah,
what you're concerned about? Who are they?
Yeah, the Miami Hurricanes to me is just like playing Michigan in that it's a race to 20 points. I mean, we watched the game, right? It's their defense. They have a legit top defense. I think they're they're 6th in scoring defense. And they got, the front 4 that can put pressure on the quarterback, that can stay in coverage for the most part. Julian saying, he struggled the most versus Indiana, and the difference was a ton of pressure. And that's what it came down to. Being able to put up points versus Miami, I don't think they can reciprocate that. Carson Beck, he can do some things, but he's limited in being able to create consistent explosive plays for Miami. So they're going to have to manufacture explosive. So, in our defense, one of the top defenses, number 1 in red zone defense. I just don't see Miami being able to score a lot of points outside of trick plays and fake punts and different things that they'll need to do to move the change and score touchdowns. So I think it comes down to the offense. It comes down to Ryan Day calling a game that puts them above 20 or so points. And if they can do that, I just don't see Miami being able to keep up with that.
Yeah. No, I have to agree. I think, like you say, obviously Miami's front 7 is, be honest, they're just ferocious, man. They're led by Ruben Bain, 3 sacks against Texas A&M. One of their offensive linemen made the mistake of saying something in the media before the game about him, calling him just another guy we'll take care of. Huge mistake. They went out there and got destroyed up front. They had 7 sacks in total against Texas A&M. And they also got Keontae Scott. I think he's been injured. I don't think he's played much this season. But man, he went out there. He got a couple sacks. He caused a sack fumble on the quarterback, and they just really got after them. But I don't know. A lot of respect for the Hurricanes. I mean, before this year, I think I had mentioned something about the Hurricanes being a potential threat here. I just like the fact that they got Carson back. And like you said, he's not, I don't know, he's not Cam Newton, right? He's not about to just kind of put the game on his shoulders and run away with things.
Yeah.
But he has a ton of experience. He's been playing college football for several years now, obviously coming from Georgia, now here in Miami. He's got experience, and experience matters, especially in a hostile playoff situation. He's not going to be surprised. The moment's not going to be too big for him. He'll be able to stay composed and most likely execute wherever that game plan is that Cristobal has for them to execute. And obviously, we got to keep our eye on the Malachi Tony. I Bleav he's a true freshman, right? Malachi
True
Tony?
freshman, yeah.
True freshman. 17. I think he's supposed to still be in high school. I think he's technically supposed to be a senior in high school, actually. That's how young he is. But, man, is he dynamic.
He is.
Very explosive player. Look to get him the balls in numerous different ways. End around, screens, just straight down the field on crossing routes, phase. Any way possible to get that guy the ball because he is explosive. So, to me, just real quick, it's a game where we need to be able to run the ball to slow up that pass rush, to get our offensive line in some rhythm. We have to go out and run the ball against Miami. And secondly, it's a game we need to, like you say, get ahead. We don't want to be playing catch up with these guys in known passing situations, and that's where things kind of get funny, exotic, and our offensive line has to stand on their head to kind of protect. Run the ball, score early, get the lead, and I think it's a game we can kind of control. FanDuel has us at a 9.5 point favorite to win this game, but obviously that's just a spread. We got to go out there and actually do it. Yeah.
Our red zone pass has struggled pretty much all year. If there's one area where I feel like we haven't been elite at is in the red zone. Miami has a really good defense. So that's where, we got to be able to get in the end zone. That's where Ryan Day has to call some magic. Maybe we don't even need to touch the red zone. Get an explosive play, score a touchdown. We don't even have to worry about the red zone. And then Miami, they're gonna have some stuff dialed up, man. They're gonna have some stuff with Malachi Tony, who's high school quarterback, I Bleav. They're gonna have some trick plays. They're gonna have to try to figure out something to create an explosive against a really, really good defense. I think one thing that was interesting about Miami is they're a veteran team, but it seems like a lot of their team came from other places. All right, Conference USA, all Conference USA, all Big Ten guy, all SEC guy, etc. They all came to Miami. But it was interesting in this game, the guys who made the big plays. The freshman corner had 2 picks. He had to pick to seal the game. He was a Miami recruit. The true freshman Malachi Tony had the big touchdown, the only touchdown they scored to get ahead. And then the running back who had the explosive runs to put him in position. All guys, from the Florida area that were Miami recruits that made big plays. So the interesting thing about the playoffs is it's almost like a second season. All the freshmen, not freshmen anymore. And you see new guys emerging and playing. So I'm hoping that Julian Saying, who's no longer a redshirt freshman, he's going into a new season. This has another year. Right.
Man. Well, we continue to watch, though. We continue to break down Miami, kind of give you a little bit more thoughts on what exactly they do in a show we'll do right before the game. They kick off on the 31st, so we'll have another show to kind of really dive into what we expect the Hurricanes to bring to Texas, man. What they're going to take down to Texas out there in that Cotton Bowl, man. But for us, we're going to wrap up. Please follow us on all platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Write us comments, send us questions. We love to dive in things that we hear directly from you guys, just to give you guys that former player perspective on all situations, man. But we always continue to bring you OSU news. We're looking forward to these playoffs. And as always, Chim, we're going to end this with a nice OH.
Yo.
Go Bucks. Talk to you guys soon.
Go Bucks.